Hello friends, good evening. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Adit. You know what? There is a very interesting event which happens in nature, and I'm going to talk about it in brief, and then I'll tell you how we can learn from that. It's a botanical event, you can call it. So, if there are two plants which are growing side by side, at a very short distance from each other, if you plant two seeds and then the plants start growing from them, and if they are at a very short distance from each other, so suppose if one of the plants grows at a faster speed than the other plant, so eventually this plant which is growing faster, it will grow faster as well as taller than the other plant, right? Now eventually, as both the plants are growing and then they are having more and more branches and their heights are increasing, eventually what will happen is the plant which is growing faster will tend to shadow the other plant which is not growing at that speed, right? Because the plant which is growing faster will have more branches, and then those branches will have more leaves compared to the other plant, so those leaves, those branches will eventually shadow the other plant. So what happens is, this is not some imaginary situation. This is observed very, very commonly. Now, in this phenomenon, what happens is, eventually, because of this shadowing of this smaller plant by this larger plant, the smaller plant or the leaves of this smaller plant, they don't receive the sunlight which is needed for photosynthesis, that is the preparation of food and all the processes basically which are required to sustain that plant. So the sunlight cannot reach that smaller plant because it is shadowed by the leaves and branches of this adjacent taller plant, we would say. So initially, even though the speed of this plant is maybe less than the other plant, the speed of growth of height, when this smaller plant stops receiving the sunlight because of this shadowing by this other plant, the speed of this smaller plant also catches up. Now it grows at a rapid rate, and then it grows at a height which is sufficient enough in such a way that now the leaves of this plant also receive direct sunlight without any obstacle in this adjacent plant. So, this is a very simple event if we look at it, but we can learn a lot from it. So in our life also, sometimes we feel we are stuck in a particular situation, or we are stuck at a particular place, and we are not able to move ahead. And we think that the external surroundings or the external situations are responsible for that, which in some cases may be the truth. But in many of the other scenarios, it is we who are clinging to those old situations. Because on one hand, we want the new to arrive in our life, but on the other hand, we are not ready to let go of the old. We want to cling to the old, at the same time, we want new to arrive in our life, which in most of the cases doesn't happen. Either you cling to the old or you get the new. It's either of the two. You don't get both at the same time. So either you cling to the old, when I say old, what I mean is the old situations, the old way of living, the old patterns of thinking, the old habits, the old style of basically navigating through your life. So you either cling to the old, which is familiar, which does not, stress you up, but then you cannot grow, you cannot progress if you cling to everything which is old or everything which is familiar, we can say. But on the other hand, if you feel that you deserve more, you deserve something which is new, and you want to explore the new avenues what your life has to offer to you, then you have to let go of all these old things which I said just now, old habits, old patterns, old way of life, etc. And in order to let go of this old way of living, you have to outgrow them. So as in our example of these plants, as this taller plant was overshadowing this smaller plant, and because of this shadowing, this smaller plant was not receiving the sunlight which was required for its growth. Similarly, these old habits, old situations in our life which are making our life stagnant, they are nothing but overshadowing our growth. They are overshadowing our life, and they are preventing us from growing in our life or progressing in our life. So if you want to really grow and attract the new situations and better situations in our life, then we have to outgrow all this old in our life. And when we outgrow this old, when we finally cross this barrier which is created by this all these old things or old patterns in our life, and when we finally break it and outgrow, just like the plant in our example, then we see that there are so many different things which the life has to offer to me, and then I was not aware about it because I was overshadowed by these old patterns, and I wouldn't be aware of it even further had I not dared to break this barrier or break this shadow of the old way of living and dared to grow further. So friends, this is what I thought I would share in this short video of today, that we have a lot to learn from nature, and there are so many other examples also where you can learn from the nature, you can learn from the plants particularly. So this is one of the example which is very interesting, and I found it very interesting, and I thought that we can directly correlate this to our life. So that's why I shared this with you in today's video. So learn from the plants, outgrow your situations. You have the power to outgrow your old patterns, habits. It's you who have to do this. It's you who have to break this barrier and outgrow everything which is stopping you from growing. And then sky is the limit. So guys, if you like today's video, then please share it with your friends, like the video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in next video with similar interesting topic. Till then, good night. Take care. Have a happy weekend. God bless you all.